Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. In a minute here, we're going to get started.
Take a few minutes to drop in the chat where you're calling from. Love to hear where everybody's at.
And fade out music. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever Uncorking IT Asset Management webinar series. We're excited to bring it to you here from ServiceNow. On the call, we've got Michelle Campos with us. My name is Richard Cheek. I guess just real quick about us. I am an advisory solution consultant here with ServiceNow, specializing in asset management. I joined ServiceNow about a year ago. Prior to that, I was with a couple of different partners doing ServiceNow implementations across the platform. And then before that was with a university as an asset manager where we use ServiceNow to help our day-to-day operations. With that, I'll let Michelle introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Michelle Campos. I also have been a practitioner for a long time around software and hardware asset management. I worked for a school district in my beginning of my career, really trying to identify and wrap my hands around software asset management and licensing and all the complexities that go around that. And then I moved into a corporation and then finally ended up at a national or regional bank in the Houston area and was responsible for running their asset management program from a management standpoint. So I managed the team of both software and hardware asset managers and saw the value with ServiceNow and ended up here, hopefully showing that value with other customers. So.
Awesome.
All right, Rich.
So today's agenda, yeah. Well, we have kicked off the introduction of our ITAM team here. We're going to go over a little bit about why we started this up. Today, we're going to be talking success goals across HAM and SAM in the ServiceNow platform. And then we'd love to leave some time at the end for a little live Q&A. So please stay to that. And with that, we have our famous ServiceNow safe harbor slide. Please do not make any trading investment decisions based on what we're going to be sharing today. There may be forward-looking things coming to the platform. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Michelle.
All right. Looks like our chat has, somebody let us know the chat's been disabled. Yeah, dropping in where you're calling from Q&A is perfectly fine as well. So looking forward to hearing where you're calling from. I see a few different locations, love it. And then again, just kind of giving guidance. If you have any questions around what we're showing today, there's going to be, feel free to drop them in the Q&A, but at the end of this webinar, we'll stop the recording and kind of talk through some of the questions and give you the ability to actually come off mute and have a conversation with Rich and myself. So as for why we started this webinar series, Rich and I have both been a practitioner, both understand some of the struggles that go around an asset management framework and, you know, getting your hands around software and hardware asset management. We understand the importance of it. And so we thought, what better way of, you know, kind of helping our customers on the extended, you know, version, right? Being able to ultimately get to a bigger audience than to do a webinar series where you come in and you're able to we're able to build a community around this. And it's not going to be just Rich and myself, you know, helping customers. We would love for y'all to be able to help each other and kind of grow your network capabilities here. Why this came about or how we chose, you know, kind of the uncorking and the wine tasting portion of this. We also have another webinar series. It's called ServiceNow Beers with Engineers, or Cloud Engineers. That's led by two of our co-team on the ITOM side, so the discovery side of it. They've been doing it for almost 2 years, if I remember correctly. And it's been very successful. So why reinvent the wheel? Rich and I were like, let's come together and kind of do the exact same thing. And then as far as wine tasting, Rich, you want to kind of say how we landed on wine tasting versus baking? I don't know if that's...
Oh yeah, I don't know how we got here. I mean, what a better excuse than to have a little drink during the workday, right? But no, there's a whole lot that goes into wine. There's a lot of process around it, where you're sourcing the grapes and all that fun stuff from. Try to draw some parallels to asset management as we can. I also realized, Michelle, that we asked everyone where they're from, but we didn't tell them where we're from. So
Oh,
I am from New York, Long Island, New York, everybody. Born and raised here. And Michelle is
yeah,
from?
I'm right outside of Houston, so in the Woodlands area of Texas. So
Awesome.
not a wine a wine place in any means. I'm not from California or from New York, but we do have a little bit of wine going on here. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll just to kind of get some ideas of wines. I'm new to the wine, I guess environment, I would say. I've never been a big wine drinker. As I've gotten older, that's something that I would like to do just to unwind is, hey, have a glass of wine after work, but then also start looking at touring some of the vineyards here in the Texas area, probably more in the Hill Country area. But I would love to get some ideas of what some wines are that that y'all are drinking or that you enjoy in your free time, and then maybe we can come back and kind of talk about those. Rich, did you want to
Yeah,
talk about which wine you're trying today?
definitely. So I went out last night. I found so the Finger Lakes region of New York State is allegedly known for good Rieslings. I like Rieslings. They're a good wine. Apparently, they say they pair well with sushi, which we're having for dinner tonight. So this is all working out really well. So I guess I'll give it a taste. I haven't tried it yet. And if I'm not tasting wine correctly, please let us know. I know there's a whole process to it, but it's not bad. It's smooth, light, crisp, perhaps, but I think
Love
it's
it.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, so our goal in this is to continue to drive, customers to these events, and then maybe we can have a wine connoisseur come online and kind of teach us how to taste wine and maybe even distribute some wine to our customers as well, right? So today I've decided to do something local as well. I'm doing Texas South Wind vineyard and winery. And the way I chose this, I went into my local HEB grocery store, and there was a wine guy there, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for something kind of sweet." And that's what his recommendation was. And this is a peach fruit wine. So we will see how I like it.
Let's see. While we're doing that, James has written in that the 5 S's of wine tasting are see, swirl, sniff, sip, and savor.
See, okay, so
Yeah.
it's yellow.
Same.
What's the next one?
Swirl.
Swirl. Okay, what are we, I'm curious why we would swirl, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
And then smell.
No.
No.
Sip.
And then what's the last one?
Savor.
Savor.
Yeah.
I would say this is not bad. Probably not my favorite. It's a little bit more tart at the end of it. I'm definitely somebody who likes fruit juice. So if you could pour me fruit juice with a little bit of alcohol in it, I'd probably love it, but not bad at all. So let's go ahead and I'm going to end this poll. I thank everybody for kind of chiming in on some of the wine suggestions. We'll read through those and come back with maybe one or two next time. We'll try y'all suggestions. All right. So when we talk about asset management, there's, we kind of talk about people, process, and technology. A lot of times you'll hear asset management's an IT problem. It's not. If you really talk about it, project management asset management is really a business issue, right? So if if an employee from HR can't get their assets in their hands, HR might be hindered or might have some problems with or challenges with getting their work done. So it's really a business issue. That's number one. But then when we're talking about people, process, and technology, I'm kind of circling back around. People, process, and technology. In this webinar series, you'll hear us talk a lot about technology, right? We both come from ServiceNow. We both are champions around ServiceNow and understand why ServiceNow is such a unique tool to ultimately be able to manage your assets. But we want to make sure that you also understand how important people and process is. So in my past life, in Rich's past life, when we were practitioners, if we didn't have the right people, the right stakeholders in the conversations, if we didn't have the right processes that were aligned, things were breaking. It didn't matter what technology you put in there. And I like the saying, automating a bad workflow is just another bad workflow, right? So let's automate a good process. Let's get those processes in place. And you'll never be 100% on a process. Processes are things that you'll want to tweak over time as you see, holes or gaps in your processes. You'll definitely go through and tweak those. But at least having some kind of standard process around that will really help. So, all right, Rich, if you want to go to the next one. Today, we're going to kick it off in this webinar series. We're hoping to kind of grow, right? So a lot of times you'll see these webinars, different webinars, not series so much, but just different webinars where they go really high level into some of the features and functionality. Our goal with this is to take a step back and kind of pick one or two features that we're going to talk about each time and kind of dive into those features a little bit more. Whenever I talk about growing on this, we want our customers to understand you don't turn this on and you're 100% day one. You mature into asset management. And that's whether or not you have a tool or, you have ServiceNow or a different tool, right? You never want to eat, bite off more than you can chew. So making sure that you're maturing. Within SAM Pro, we have what's called the success portals. Can't say that. Say that 3 times fast.
Success portals.
You're better than
not going to make it.
We have what's called success portals, right? So that's in our SAM and HAM platforms. And I'll talk to Sam. Rich will take on HAM after this, but you'll see some kind of overlap in understanding that, again, it's, one data model, one platform, and being able to manage all your assets on it, which is why you would see some overlap in that space. But one thing that is new to our Washington release that came out, was it Monday this week, Rich?
Yeah.
I remember correctly?
Yeah, I think it went GA very, very recently.
Yeah. So is our maturity stance. So there's a crawl, walk, run suggested kind of path that we've released within SAM and HAM, and ultimately it helps customers understand where they can grow, see value on the platform. It's again suggested. It's things that you can use to mature, but your path might be different than the path of a customer on the side of you, right? So just keeping that in mind. But we'll run through this in the demonstration. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next one. There's a few things I do want to outline as we kind of go through this. So when we are talking about the maturity specifically, how you mature your SAM stance, there's a crawl, walk, run. And sometimes we hear fly, right? Or as I said, scoot, like before the crawl, right? So depending on where you're at, but in our maturity platform or the maturity tile within the success portal, this is how we're kind of defining the crawl, walk, run. So crawl is kind of getting your program up, identifying, some of the discovery tools that you might need to integrate with, whether that's SCCM or JAMP or ITOM discovery. Then you can also look at, maybe is it easier to get some of those SaaS integrations in because you have admin portal access, or does it make sense to focus on end user computing first, right? And understanding what's installed on your machine. So I'll give some kind of directions in those and kind of you can tie them to goals so that way you can track progress of them over time. Same thing on walk, just maturing a little bit more. So now do you want to start moving into maybe your data center environment, understanding more of your SaaS components and maybe start looking at removing software that's not being used. So identifying usage and having that removed so you can reharvest those licenses instead of buying new licenses. And then when we get to the to the run phase, we're going to start talking about how we can start automating some of those processes. So as we said, once you've defined the processes, got them up in good working order, then you want to start adding the automation behind them because you know the behavior they expect.
Yeah, I think, Michelle, if you wanted to boil it down, like the crawl stage is all about getting foundational data into the ServiceNow platform, right? Walk is kind of consuming the data and taking standing what you have, and running is taking action on it, optimizing, automating, and starting to reclaim licenses.
Love it. Yeah. a real simple way. So this definition is out there on the ServiceNow doc site. So if you ever wanted to refer back to it, you can do that as well. And then I think there might be one more slide. Yep. So the last slide before I run through my demonstration is know before you begin, right? So when we talk about the success portal, the first version of that release was in Tokyo. We did have some additional functionality in the new Washington release, as I said, to be able to create and see these the goals and the data behind it. You'll need the SAM_admin role. And then these are in workspaces only. So if for some reason you're not on workspace today, you'll need to make sure that you do have that plugin installed in order to be able to see it. So just some basic information. I'm going to fill the screen real quick.
We should have put a glass of wine there instead of a coffee.
Yeah, that would make sense. Actually, I'm going to take a sip. Can you do me a favor, Rich? Can you tell me if you can see my screen before I jump in?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm on the software asset management landing page, right? And as we go down to the left side of the screen, I can start seeing different tiles. Within the tile, so I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th tile down, you'll start seeing success portals. And this is basically, again, the way to track your progress on the platform. You'll see a lot of different things as we'll kind of jump in. You do have the ability to kind of take a tour and it'll walk you through and kind of teach you what everything is. I'm going to be your tour guide today, I guess. When we are talking about SAM maturity, this is that new tile that I was saying that just released. You can come in here and you can start seeing, you know, in this case, in my demo instance, you can see the crawl stage has been completed. We are in the process of the work, you know, the walk phase, and then the run phase hasn't been started. If you wanted to come in here and actually see what was done in the crawl stage, you can come in here and you can drill into this. And I know Rich is going to kind of walk us through this a little bit more on the hardware side. So I'm going to kind of stay out of it, but still being able to come in here and see, again, what's been defined. These are suggested. So if for any reason you wanted to move something that you felt was, you know, in the walk phase as a suggested, you can always move that to crawl if you think that that's something you want to get checked off at the beginning of your implementation. So again, these can be tied back to goals, and we'll dive into the goals here in a minute. We do have several other tabs on here. So health check really aligns to making sure that the discovery is happening, identifying your health score. You can see things that we've categorized as issues. So in this case, like entitlements, if I wanted to dive into here, I could dive in and see what is it flagging for me to go back and double check. So like in this case, it says Windows Server rights per license. I can see it's going to give me a kind of a description of what's going on. So it says Windows Server license is sold in core packs of 2 or 16. So just double check and make sure that the entitlements you've entered are correct. So again, it's going out, scanning and identifying these to make sure that ultimately you're making sure that your stance is clean and good to go. Value builder. So these are being able to make sure your plugins are turned on. Publisher packs. So publisher packs are, the Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, things of that nature, the installed software to help define the license usage around that. And then you can see task builders, and I'm going to dive into that here in a minute. We can also come down here and see some things that have been completed or things that need to be completed. These again are suggested out of the box. These are suggested for all of our customers. So if for some reason you're not a Microsoft shop and you don't have SQL Server licenses, you would just dismiss this. If you did, you would go through the setup process, and it's going to walk you through to make sure that you're doing the integration and the setup completely and specs to the Microsoft. And then product setup. So again, this is getting into, this one was, the SQL Server was released in Vancouver, if I remember correctly, and Windows Server is a new feature as well in Washington. So being able to go through kind of a playbook process and getting those set up. Now, I'm going to jump into a goal. So goals can be defined based on a cost or a quantity. Maybe you're wanting to save a certain number of licenses or save a certain dollar amount, so you can do that as well. These goals are things that you would set up. So you're going to create these goals and define what that goal looks like for you in your environment. If I come down here, I can see open activities. I can see, projected savings. So there's some savings in overlapping software, reducing licensing, things of that nature. I can also come here and say, I want to see what's done versus, or what's in progress versus what's in draft. I created an example based on something that in my real life I worked on. It wasn't project management tools. It was actually a whiteboarding tool. So when COVID hit, everybody needed a way to go out and ultimately come together and have conversations and get excited about, different things that were going on in the environment. So they felt the need to go out and start sourcing on their own whiteboarding tools. So we had Microsoft whiteboarding, we had Miro, lots of different whiteboarding tools that people were going out and picking up and buying on P cards or going out and creating free accounts, so, and that's actually how it came to me as a problem. I won't name the specific vendor, but the vendor reached out to me and said, hey, we have this many people that are using, consumer licenses, not corporate licenses, but they're using your domain. And we want to make sure that you're aware of this because this is a concern on our total cost of ownership, or excuse me, on our total, on our EULA, so end user license agreement. And ultimately, we want to make sure that we roll these into an agreement under your contract and you start paying for them. So shock, things came, that security got involved, and we ultimately found out that some of our proprietary information was going out on these different tools to design some applications, right? And that's never a good thing because we're not being protected under an agreement or anything like that. So in this case, ultimately, because I didn't have a tool in place, it was visible to me just by a vendor coming to me and kind of identifying it and asking for money. You never want to be in that stance. You always want to know what's coming ahead of you, right? So you want to identify it and see it. One way SAM can help drive these success goals, especially when you're talking about overlapping software, is we have an overlapping software usage tab. So this is being able to integrate your SaaS products and start seeing who's using what and what is that defined as. So is it a project management tool? Is it a collaboration tool? Is it a video conferencing tool? You can start seeing this information on a dashboard and be able to start coming into and defining it. If I go down to the project management tool here, I can see, project management. I can see Smartsheets, Monday.com, and Workfront are all three products that we have in this environment. I can see my total spend and how many subscriptions I have across my environment. If I take it one step further, I want to come in and actually start seeing features and who's using those features. Now I can come to the feature section and I got three different products that are telling me I can start, because these are direct integrations, these are really robust integrations that we have, we can start seeing actually what they're doing in these environments, doing with these subscriptions. We have cost center allocated to it, so we can see cost center and who's spending that money. In this case, just by looking at this, not digging any further into it, I can see Workfront is probably my lowest used product, right? Smartsheets is my number one, and then Monday is number two. So in my case, in this case, we would probably want to go ahead and at minimum reduce it down to 2, and let's get rid of this Workfront, $709,000. So by looking at that, then I would come in here and create this success goal, which I've already done just to speed up time, but came in here, created the success goal, identified the title. I can see it's for overlapping software, different ways to identify it as far as categories go. You can identify a vendor if you wanted to, and again, this is going to be a savings. We could also do it as a count. You know, we want to go from 3 down to 2. We could do it that way as well. Savings always looks better whenever you're talking to your C-level executives. I defined my goal description, so I want to move it down. And then I also want to start on April 1st. I'm anticipating to have this done by July 31st. And the reason is if we went into Workfront, the renewal is actually in August. So we want to get this done before August so we can send them notification to cancel our agreement. And then hopefully you know, even though our total cost is $709,000 for Workfront, there's going to be an increase because we are going to need to buy more licenses for the other 2 products. So I'm estimating my projected savings at $600,000. As we go through the tasks that I created, so meeting with the department lead, understanding, you know, that we need to remove this from the catalog so new people can't request it, define a test group, lots of different processes. And keep in mind, this is not a project management tool. This is just a way to kind of track and ultimately define who's responsible for it. So you can come in here and assign a group and assign somebody to it, and then they can go through and define their work notes and show it as complete, move it from work in progress to complete. And as the work gets completed, once the final task has been completed, you would want to come in here and put, you know, the actual end date and the actual savings. And then once that's been completed, where you start taking that, you can ultimately roll that information up to the executives and being able to, I can't see because this toolbar up here, but you can roll that up to the executive dashboard, right? And being able to see that and show that to the executive and show sorry, I'm kind of diving into yours, Rich, but the software success savings, right? So when your executives out there looking and they want to understand what you're working on, you can show that information, success goals, and how much they're saving and things of that nature. That gets you good buy-in whenever it's time for your review and you ask for a raise, or you ask for headcount, or you ask just for their, you know, ultimately being able to support you on maturing your asset management program. I'm going to go ahead, Rich, and turn it over to you.
Awesome.
Sharing.
Let me steal the screen back, share it out, and pop back over here. All righty. And you could see my screen, right, Michelle?
Perfect. Yes. Thank you.
Sweet. So again, this is going to look largely similar to what we just saw in SAM. It's all built on the same platform, and that's by design. Oftentimes, your hardware asset managers are responsible for software, and just that common language that ServiceNow presents to the organization is extremely useful. So in hardware asset management, we have a workspace, again, that mission control for your asset managers, along with a success portal there. This is, again, designed to mirror that software portal. So again, this is a look at the maturity items there, that crawl, walk, run implementation of an asset management practice, and it's going to look and feel largely similar there. So again, just a quick before you begin on the hardware asset side before the demo. This was released in Vancouver. We're going to look at Washington though today, our latest release. You need the HAM admin role, and again, those workspace plugins activated. Software asset management was first released on ServiceNow in 2017-ish. A ways back. Hardware asset management. Yeah, hardware asset management is much more recent to the platform. So while they were playing catch up for a while as a product, they have kind of aligned now. And as there is functionality that can cross from hardware to software, it seems that we're implementing both at that same time. So I think the success portals are going to look, we're at the same level of maturity, though ours was released maybe one release back. All righty, so flipping into ServiceNow. I'm going to exit this, minus that, and pull back up. Join us at employee kickoff. That happened already. Did I? Okay. Cool. All righty. So diving into the hardware asset workspace, again, mission control for your asset managers, painting that landscape of all of your hardware assets. hopping down here, I'm not going to count to the bottom. I'm going to count up. It's the second from the bottom for the success portal here.
You sure you can still count with your wine?
I think I can make it now, but maybe not at the end of the webinar. We'll see, right? Again, I'll be your tour guide for this, but it's going to represent your maturity level on the platform with hardware asset management. So we're going to actually start in those maturity items. And this is new to Washington, and actually, I think super useful for both products because it starts to call out all of the different functionalities that we provide in those tools. A lot of times we've heard customers say, I don't feel like I'm taking full advantage of this tool. What am I missing? And we used to have to go back and sit down with them, show them the functionality that they're using, show them a list of what we have available, and kind of come up with that roadmap, that plan to getting it live. We've taken a stab at what feels best in the industry now to do that and call out all of the different workflows across the tools. So in hardware asset here, again, we're going to start setting up that foundational data. There you go. Maybe it is a glass of wine for asset management. So, that's going through your guided setup, setting up your categories, getting all of your asset data into ServiceNow. As we start to walk, we're putting automation around that. And this is the adoption of the different workflows that you get with Hardware Asset Management Professional on ServiceNow. So things like asset refreshes, bulk orders, disposals and donations, all of those different workflows that we're starting to provide you to put that level of automation around the life cycle of those assets. And then finally moving into kind of that run stage, this is where we start to really optimize it. So as we start to think about things like a zero-touch refresh and integrating with vendors, so we don't have to touch a computer before it gets to our customers, we're outlining all of these different goals to help you get there. So I figured today we just kind of step through one of those goals and maybe in that crawl stage, and that's adopting a new asset, right, to deploy in a service catalog, get folks onboarded. That's kind of step one for a lot of customers, right? We have a standard laptop and we want to have it accessible to our community.
Rich, real quick, if on the hand maturity, you want to show them how they can move it from a crawl stage to a walk stage? Or
yeah,
I think that's really important because again, this is kind of a guide. It's not set in stone, right?
So actually, if I had something to pick with the way we have laid it out, we have total cost of ownership down here in the hardware asset management crawl stage. I think this is one that may really be in the run stage, right? Because we need to know our assets, all of our operating procedures around them, and the cost associated with that. So if we wanted to bump this up, we could click into the actual record and move it up to run. Or from here, you can click in and pass it back or skip it. In this case, we're going to skip that today. We don't have enough time to get through total cost of ownership on this call.
New feature that we just released. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Kind of dig into it. But yeah, I definitely agree. It would be on a run stage. It takes a long time to understand the total cost of ownership around an asset. So. Thank you, Rich. Sorry.
No, this is great. So again, let's kind of kick off with that standard hardware request, that maturity item, right? We want to get some stuff published to our catalog for our end users to consume. So let's flip out of the tabs here. And I set an in-progress goal just for interest of the time here. And this is that success goal. It's the parent to our activities that we need to take to ultimately complete the goal. So we've got 5 standard devices here. We've got a couple developer laptops, a marketing laptop, and a sales laptop that we want to publish out to our catalogs. Again, I've set some start dates. Unlike the goal we saw with Michelle in software, I figured we'd pivot to a count goal, right? We don't necessarily have a cost associated with this, though you could. You could track down to the level of, the amount of time it takes to provision and deliver a laptop for your technicians. But in this case, we're just going to count, right? We're going to be a little less ambitious. We are drinking wine at a webinar. So we said we have 5 total we want to get to. We've gotten through 1 already. I've gone out and defined success activities, just 1 for each item, super simple in this use case. And then as we move them, we're working towards hitting that end goal and completing our maturity item in our crawl phase. So at the end of this goal, right, we've got 1 item published to our service catalog. Again, we're going to hop out here to our employee portal. for those that haven't seen it already, I please encourage you to go out there and take a look at the new Employee Center. It was released a handful of maybe 2 years ago, so 4 releases back. But it's the new landing page for all customer-facing activity we're looking to drive through ServiceNow. So, that end goal, we like to have a catalog of computers out here. We've got our standard MacBook. Somebody went out, built that catalog item for our MacBook. We have it now requestable for the community, and we have published that, and we have closed out our first goal here. So as we, again, start to close these out, they roll up into that initial success goal, and we are on our way to maturing our process of implementing new catalog items and new models to our service catalog.
Yeah, so the Employee Center is kind of like that Amazon feel, right? And that's the goal we're kind of getting to, is where customers, or the internal customers, right? Our internal employees are be able to go in and actually see and request things, and it kind of is that one-stop shop where they can go in and define. And then that gives the asset managers the guardrails to kind of put up and say, hey, these are all we want you to be able to see. These are all we're willing to support. So kind of stick within these guardrails and look and order these, right? And it can be role defined, right? Being able to say, I think in one of your examples, there was like a sales laptop, right? So you can be able to put those guardrails up where only the sales team are able to see that laptop. So.
Yeah, and I will say, again, this isn't a project management tool. It could be used in conjunction with ServiceNow's project management capabilities. Might be a great idea there one day for a little better together story. But a lot of the customers that we talk to, they're you could see hard value savings with SAM, right? You could save. It's very easy to say, when I reclaim a license, I save $100. When it comes to deploying equipment out there, this helps to arm your teams who are responsible for asset management to, again, prove value up to that executive workspace. So as you start to build out these goals, put dollar savings associated with it and roll that up, it really starts to build that case of adoption for maturing your asset practice.
And it helps understand, the C-level understand the value behind it, because a lot of times those conversations can be hard, where you're asking for resources, or you're asking for help, or you're asking them to kind of support a standardization process that you want to put in place. But if you don't have anything to reflect to show that you're actually doing your job, and you're actually protecting the company and protecting their assets, sometimes that conversation can be like pulling teeth, right? It's not as easy to do. So good point.
Awesome.
All right. So that's kind of a standard overview, right? Like, I think it was just kind of jumping in and showing you this, again, very simple feature, but very powerful as you roll it up, and making sure that you keep track of those goals and projects that you're kind of working on within the SAM and HAM space.
100%. Awesome. All right.
You want to jump to the next?
Couple more slides here. Yeah. So go ahead, Michelle.
So we have a poll. Give me just 1 second. Let me get this new poll up.
Yeah. So while that's coming up, I think, we're intending to run these monthly and outline a feature or function within the, hardware and software asset management solutions on ServiceNow. At top of mind for a lot of customers is regulatory compliance within hardware and software asset management, whether it's coming from state mandated regulations, industry mandated regulations, or just internal compliance. There's a bunch of different functionality that we can assist with there, and we're going to talk through some of the themes. But it looks like the poll is up, right? We'd like to hear what topics you'd like to cover. Yeah, go ahead.
This webinar is for y'all, right? So it's to ultimately help you where you're at, and make sure that we're covering topics that make sense to you. So the first two topics have come from customers that we've been on calls with recently that are having challenges around again, showing value and getting getting it up and getting moving in the right direction. And then I don't know about you, Rich, but I've had tons of compliance conversations recently. A lot of things coming down the pipeline around data security and managing the assets. Security and assets go hand in hand.
Oh yeah.
So maybe even a better together might be a good one with our security team and showing how Sam provides the information for security to kind of take it and run with it for vulnerability response and stuff.
Yeah,
like
I've been
that.
on a bunch of calls recently. Again, I'm in the New York area, so the New York Department of Financial Services has a timeline for the adoption of a bunch of cybersecurity requirements, and one of them being asset management. So that's really what's driving that there. But again, it goes across all industries, healthcare, HIPAA requirements. That just if you're managing PCI information, everything in the platform is kind of out there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I start cringing whenever I hear compliance. So it brings me
Sorry.
back to the back to the day whenever I was having to be able to answer to compliance and auditors and provide proof and reports. So
yeah,
I'm just going to give it about 5 more seconds for the poll to be up while you run through this, Rich.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Definitely. And, for those of you out there who have not heard of Knowledge before, it's our big event where all of our customers come out to learn and grow and share and just get excited about the ServiceNow platform. When I was at a customer 10 years ago, it was my first exposure to ServiceNow, and it really gave me the energy I wanted to build a career around, right? But there's tons of breakout sessions, hands-on training with all of the different folks within ServiceNow to learn the tool. Definitely, it's in Las Vegas, so it's a party scene out there. Lots of different partners out there to talk to, socialize with, and network with. It's our premier event of the year. So if you're interested, again, QR code there. Feel free to scan it, talk to your account reps. We want to get you engaged over there.
Yeah, and last year, Rich and I were both there, right? So we both ran the EAM. If you're not familiar with EAM, it's Enterprise Asset Management. So anything outside of IT space and managing those assets. So we kind of ran that and to help support a few other workshop events that they hold there. And then of course we did the booth session, right? So where you can come in and customers can ask questions directly to us. So can't guarantee we'll be there again this year, but we have a very large extended team that we would love to, get you to have a session with, maybe come up and say hi. So one more thing, Rich, if you don't mind, maybe go back to why we're doing asset management, why we're doing this webinar series. I just wanted to kind of call out Beers with Engineers. I think I kind of glazed over it, but kind of the ITAM side of the house, ITOM side of the house. So IT operations management and understanding how Sam and Ham use that information, right? With what's called ServiceNow Beers with Cloud Engineers is on the ITOM front. So they have this very similar setup where, it's kind of loose and really just kind of a nice flowing, I guess you could say, discussion with ITOM. They come in, they talk about it, they have experts come online and talk about how to mature your ITOM stance. But then they also go offline. They stop the recording and offer customers to come in and ask questions and talk to them and get to know them. So there is a session tomorrow. If you're looking for kind of growing in the ITOM front, click on that QR, take a picture of that QR code and go ahead and go in and register. And I think, Rich, they do it on a monthly basis as well, if I remember correctly. Okay.
Yeah, they're monthly. They're also, last year they had a live session in Vegas at Knowledge.
Oh, yeah, that's
they might
right.
be doing it again this year. I think we might be getting it off the ground for our series a little too late, but it is a goal of ours to get out there, do these live and in person, and fill the room more than they had filled their room, which was pretty packed last year. So let's drive this event out to our community, both the Beers with Engineers and Uncorking ITAM Excellence, and really build a community around it.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Come to meet everybody in person and listen to it. Okay, I think that's all the material we had today. So I think at this point we'll stop the recording. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.